ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाशतादेशधारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. We welcome everyone for today's morning reading. We're reading from Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 15. And yeah, Purushottam Yoga, the Yoga of the Supreme Person is the title of the chapter. So just a quick recap of what we have discussed so far, of what Lord Shri Krishna is speaking about it in this chapter. So in this chapter, Lord Shri Krishna introduces the concept. I should say concept. Well, he introduces the relationship between material world and spiritual world. I should rather say that way. In the past, in the 8th chapter, we saw about material world as well as spiritual world, but that no direct relationship was established before, which is established here in the 15th chapter. The verse number 1, Urdhva Mulam Adha Shakam Ashwatam Ahavayam. Krishna says this material world is a reflection of the spiritual world, and he gives an analogy, just like we see a reflected tree in the river indicates the original tree must be there. What is the nature of the tree? The nature of the tree is this tree, which is of this material world, is the roots are upwards, the branches are downwards, which means the roots are upward, which means it is situated somewhere else, like that. So what we have here is a negative axis. The root, which is being discussed, is at Brahman realization 0, and the original tree which grows from there is called positive axis, that is called spiritual world. Like that, Lord Shri Krishna speaks about telling how this world is a temporary place, and spiritual world is the reality. Therefore, Lord Shri Krishna speaks about spiritual world in this chapter. Na tad bhasate suryo na shashankana pavaka yadgatvan nivatante tadhama paramamama. And then Lord Shri Krishna describes the nature of the spiritual world. One who goes there never comes back, and it's a place of eternity, full of bliss and knowledge. However, now the series of verses that we're reading, we are on the 9th verse. Now Krishna says, however, the material world is a place where you have again and again, over again and again and again, you keep on going through the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. That is the nature. You take a birth, get a particular set of body, along with that you get a particular set of senses, and then you live your life in that body, then you give it up according to the desires you've cultivated, again you get it. So Krishna says in this regard, Mamaivamsa Jiva Loka Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha. Arjuna, please remember, every living entity is my part and parcel. But what to do? Manha Shashrani Indriyani Prakristani Karshati. Is struggling in this material world along with the 6 senses grouped about the mind. And that's the whole discussion. So once again, this is not a home, this is a hotel. Our original home is spiritual world. And unfortunately, we are checking in and checking out again and again from this hotel. But if in case we go back to home once for all, then we'll never come back. That's the discussion so far. Let's take a discussion and read what Krishna says ahead from now on. Text number 9. Shrotram chakshuhu spashnam cha rasanam grahanam eva cha adhishtaya manaschayam vishayanupasevate. The living entity, the stick, taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and the sense of touch. Shrotra, chakshu, dekhna, spashnam, touch, rasanam is tongue, and grahanam, smelling. Like this, adhisthaya manaschayam, this all is grouped about mind, Vishyanupasevate. And like that, he try to enjoy a particular set of sense objects, puppets. In other words, if the living entity adulterates his consciousness with the qualities of cats and dogs, in his next life he gets a cat or a dog body and enjoys. Consciousness is originally pure, like water. But if you mix water with certain color, it changes. Similarly, consciousness is pure, or the spirit soul is pure. But consciousness is changed according to the association of the material qualities. So the gunas, which is material qualities, are like adding color to the pure consciousness and contaminating the consciousness. Real consciousness is Krishna consciousness. Pure consciousness is also said as, is also in Sanskrit, it is described as nirmalam, nirmal, pure. When therefore one is situated in Krishna consciousness, he is pure, he is in pure life. But if his consciousness is adulterated by some type of material mentality, in the next life he gets a corresponding body. He does not necessarily get a human body again. He can get the body of a cat, dog, hog, demigod, or one of the many other forms, for there are 8.4 million species. Fellows from Yogi there? All right, let's go to text. उत्क्रामन्तं चितं वापि भुञ्जानं वा गुणान्वितं विमूढानानुपश्यन्ति पश्यन्ति ज्ञानचक्षुषा. However, one who is fool cannot see the truth. How? A living entity is changing his body. Utkramantam, quitting. Sitam vapi, quitting, giving up sitam vapi, the current body. Gunjana va gunan, vitam, under the spell of modes of material nature. He gets another set of body, quits the current body. Vimuda, which means a fool. Na anupashyanti, he cannot see. Pashyanti jnana chakshusha, who can see? Pashyanti jnana chakshusha, who has his chakshu of jnana. Jnana chakshusha. So, how do we develop this jnana chakshu? The jnana chakshu develops through hearing. So, the chakshu, the vision, the right vision is not developed by seeing. The vision is developed by hearing. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnana Anjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So the darkness of my eyes have been removed by the torch of knowledge. That is Jnana. So how can a person actually, who can really see? Krishna is saying only one who has cultivated or heard transcendental knowledge, only then he can see properly. That's the reason Krishna says, Pashyanti Jnana Chakshushaha. All right. The foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature, but one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this. Krishna Chandra Prabhu, please read the purports.
Hare Krishna. The word Jnana Chakshusha is very significant. Without knowledge, one cannot understand how a living entity leaves his present body, nor what form of body he is going to take in the next life, not even why he is living in a particular type of body. This requires a great amount of knowledge understood from Bhagavad Gita and similar literatures heard from a bona fide spiritual master. One who is trained to perceive all these things is fortunate. Every living entity is quitting his body under certain circumstances. He is living under certain circumstances and is enjoying and under certain circumstances under the spell of material nature. As a result, he is suffering different kinds of happiness and distress under the illusion of sense enjoyment. Persons who are everlasting fooled by lust and desire lose all power to understand their change of body and their stay in a particular body. They cannot comprehend it. Those who have developed spiritual knowledge, however, can see that the spirit is different from the body and is changing its body and enjoying in different ways. A person in such knowledge can understand how the conditioned living entity is suffering in this material existence. Therefore, those who are highly developed in Krishna consciousness try their best to give this knowledge to the people in general for their conditional life is very much troublesome. They should come out of it and be Krishna conscious and liberate themselves to transfer to the spiritual body. Hare Krishna.
Yatanto yoginaschainam pashyanti atmani avasthitam yatanto api akratatmanu nainam pashyanti yatant prayatna, which means endeavoring, yoginas chainam, by transcendentalists, pashyanti an endeavoring yogi can see how the soul is situated within this body. Though api kratatmano, yatanto, again endeavoring, although akratatmano nainam pashyanti achetasaha. A very beautiful verse Krishna is saying. If you see in the first line and third line, it begins with yatanto. Yatanto yoginas. So everyone in this material world is endeavoring. Everyone has to struggle. The yoginas, yogi is or transcendentalist or spiritualist like bhaktas, they are endeavoring to understand the self. So they see the self situated within the body. Yatanto api akrata atmano. Akrata atmanaha. There are another category of people, they are also, yatanto means endeavoring, they are also endeavoring, but they are not endeavoring for self-realization. Nainam pashyanti achetsa. As a result, they cannot see the presence of the self within the body. Fantastic verse. Translation. The endeavoring transcendental situated in self-realization can see all this clearly. But those whose mind are not developed or not situated in self-realization cannot see what is taking place, though they may try to. Nikhil Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Pranam. There are many transcendentalists on the path of spiritual self-realization, but one who is not situated in self-realization cannot see how things are changing in the body of the living entity. The word yogina is significant in this connection. In the present day, there are many so-called yogis and there are many so-called associations of yogis, but they are actually blind in the matter of self-realization. They are simply addicted to some sort of gymnastic exercise and are satisfied if the body is well built and healthy. They have no other information. They are called yatantopi akritatmanah. Even though they are endeavoring in a so-called yoga system, they are not self-realized. Such people cannot understand the process of the transmigration of the soul. Only those who are actually in the yoga system and have realized the self, the world, and the Supreme Lord, in other words, the bhakti yogis, those engaged in pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness, can understand how things are taking place. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yadaditya. Okay, so now another section begins now. So again, a quick recap of 15th chapter. In the initial verses, Krishna spoke about home versus hotel. Hotel, this is material world, perfect reflection of the spiritual world. Where is home? Krishna describes in the 15th chapter, verse number 7. Natad bhasate, 15.6. Natad bhasate surya nashashanka pavaka. So home and hotel was described, and what is our real home is described, and what is this hotel has been described as material world. Then the nature of our life in this material world is described, where on and on, over and over, again and again, person has to keep taking different bodies. That was discussed so far. However, Arjuna thought, my dear Lord, if in case I'm changing my body, why do not I see that? Why do not see that I'm changing from one body to another body? And Krishna says, a foolish person, vimudha, na pashyanti, previous verse. Vimudha nanu pashyanti jnana chakshusha. The one who is fool, he cannot see. Who can see? Who has got jnana chakshusha. Very important point. Only one who has heard from the right authority, he has cultivated jnana, not only jnana chakshu. Now he can see the truth like that. So who are those people who have developed jnana chakshusha? Yatanto yogina chainam. They are called to be transcendentalists. Those who are endeavoring. Yatanta means endeavoring. Yatanto, prayatna. Sounds similar? So prayatna is the Hindi word, endeavor. So everyone has to struggle. But struggle for what? One who is struggling for self-realization, only they can cultivate this vision. Yatanto atmano. However, those who are without self-realization, who are just struggling for sense gratification, nainam pashyanti achetsa, they would not have this consciousness. Now, So up to so far this happened, these two things. Now Krishna says, Arjuna, now Krishna gives a far more greater reason for living entities. How should I put it? So just some time ago in this chapter, Krishna says, every living entity is my part and parcel. And now Krishna explains here in the next section, beginning from 12th up to 15th verse, that how living entity at all times dependent on me. First thing. Second thing, which you can see from this particular section, which we have already discussed now, how while even living in this world, living entity can have a relationship with me. In other words, if we can cultivate a sense of gratitude, if he understands that how I am providing everything for his physical well-being, for his mind, intellectual well-being, and also for the soul, then he can have gratitude for me like this. And third, what Jnana Chakshusha means. Jnana Chakshusha means to see how the Lord is providing at all times for my sustenance, how Lord is protecting me. So these are 2-3 things that we can learn from the section which we're going to discuss now, from 12th verse onwards. So let's see how Krishna provides for our maintenance. Yadatityaagatam teju jagat bhashate akhilam yachandramasi yachagno tattejo vidimamakam yat adityagatam tejo. Arjuna, the sunshine, Aditya Gatam, Tej, the splendor of the sun, Jagat, by which it illuminates the whole world, Bhasyate illuminates, Akhilam entirely. Yad Aditya Gatam Tejam, the illumination, the splendor of the sun, Yat Chandramasi, Chandrama, the moon, Yat Chagnu, which means the Agni, Tat Tejo, the splendor, Vidimamakam, no, it is mine. So it is not nuclear fusion on the sun which is producing illumination. What is producing illumination? Krishna says, Tejo Vidimamakam. It is my splendor. It is my energy. Beautiful. The splendor of the sun which dissipates the darkness of the whole world comes from me. The splendor of the moon and the splendor of fire are also from me. So if there is no sunshine, if there is no moonshine, if there is no fire, you'll not have, first of all, fire means Jataragni. You cannot digest. If there is no moonshine, there is no taste in the vegetables or the foods that we eat. And there's no sunshine, there's no question of having any crops, or fruits, or food, or rainwater. Like that, Prabhupada explains in the purport that how, with the presence of sunshine and moonshine and the fire, our body is maintained. We get food to eat, we get drinking, we get a fresh water to drink, and with the Jataragni, we can digest all this. So like this, Krishna maintains our physical body. Okay, the 2 paragraphs, Mother Priyanka, please use the first paragraph.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The unintelligent cannot understand how things are taking place, but one can begin to be established in knowledge by understanding what the Lord explains here. Everyone sees the sun, moon, fire, and electricity. One should simply try to understand that the splendor of the sun, the splendor of the moon, and splendor of the electricity or fire are coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In such a conception of life, the beginning of Krishna consciousness lies a great deal of advancement for the conditioned soul in this material world. The living entities are essentially the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and he is giving here with the hint how they can come back to Godhead, back to home.
Continue.
From this verse, we can understand that the sun is illuminating the whole solar system. There are different universes and solar systems, and there are different suns, moons, and planets also. But in each universe, there is only one sun. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 10.21, the moon is one of the stars. Nakshatram aham sashi. Sunlight is due to the spiritual effulgence in the spiritual sky of the Supreme Lord. With the rise of the sun, the activities of human beings are set up. They set fire to prepare their foodstuff. They set fire to start the factories, etc. So many things are done with the help of fire. Therefore, sunrise, fire, and moonlight are so pleasing to the living entities. Without their help, no living entity can live. So, if one can understand that the light and splendor of the sun, moon, and fire are emanating from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, then once Krishna consciousness will begin. By the moonshine, all the vegetables are nourished. The moonshine is so pleasing that people can easily understand that they are living by the mercy of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Without his mercy, there cannot be sun. Without his mercy, there cannot be moon. And without his mercy, there cannot be fire. And without the help of sun, moon, and fire, no one can live. There are some thoughts to provoke Krishna consciousness in the conditioned soul. These are some of the thoughts that to provoke Krishna consciousness in the conditioned soul. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Text number 13. So this was about how Krishna maintains our physical body, not us, of all living entities. Therefore, you would have heard oftentimes, if in case you hear Prabhupada lectures, Prabhupada often says, isn't the Lord providing for the elephant in the jungle? So why wouldn't he provide for you? Why struggle so much? Text number 13. Gama vishyaja bhutani dhayami ahamojasa pushnami chaushadhi sarva somo bhutva rasatmaka. Somo bhutva rasatmaka. The moon is what provides rasa atmaka. All right. Gam. Okay, so the Lord is maintaining our body. Now the question comes, who's keeping this all the planets aloft in this whole universe? So Krishna says, Gam, the planets, avishyacha bhutani dharyami ahamojasa. It is my energy. I enter into this planet and the living entities. Pushnami chaushadhi sarva. I am nourishing. Cha aushadhi sarva. Aushadhi means vegetables. All vegetables, I am nourishing that. Somo bhutva rasatmaka. And I am the one who's supplying the rasa. Translation. I enter into each planet and by my energy they stay in orbit. Gam avishyacha bhutani dharyami ahamojasa. I become the moon and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables. Pushnami chaushadhi sarva somo bhutva rasatmakaha. Purports. Mother Medhavni, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Prabhu. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. It is understood that all the planets are floating in the air only with the energy of the Lord. The Lord enters into every atom, every planet, and every living being. That is discussed in the Brahma Samhita. It is said there that one plenary portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paramatma, enters into the planets, the universe, the living entity, and even into the atom. So due to his entrance, everything is appropriately manifested. When the spirit soul is there, a living man can float on the water. But when the living spark is out of the body and the body is dead, the body sinks. Of course, when it is decomposed, it floats just like straw and other things. But as soon as the man is dead, he at once sinks in the water. Similarly, all these planets are floating in space, and this is due to the entrance of the supreme energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His energy is sustaining each planet just like a handful of dust. If someone holds a handful of dust, there is no possibility of the dust falling, but if one throws it in the air, it will fall down. Similarly, these planets which are floating in the air are actually held in the fist of the fist of the universal form of the Supreme Lord. By his strength and energy, all moving and non-moving things stay in their place. It is said in the Vedic hymns that because of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the sun is shining and the planets are steadily moving. Were it not for him, all the planets would scatter like dust in the air and perish. Similarly, it is due to the Supreme Personality of Godhead that the moon nourishes all vegetables. Due to the moon's influence, the vegetables become delicious. Without the moonshine, the vegetables can neither grow nor taste succulent. Human society is working, living comfortably, and enjoying food due to the supply from the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, mankind could not survive. The word rasatmakaha is very significant. Everything becomes palatable by the agency of the Supreme Lord through the influence of the moon. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Text number 14. Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Pranina Dehamashitaha Pranapana Samayukta Pachami Anam Chaturvidam So aham means I, Vaishvanaro Bhutva, which means that refers to the digestive fire actually. Bhutva becoming. So Krishna says, I become the digesting fire. Pranina Deham Ashritaha, of all living entities. Deham Ashritaha. Prana Apana. There are different kinds of, Vayu. So I am the outgoing air, Apana, the incoming. Samayukta, keeping in balance. Pachami Annam, digestion. Annam, food stuff. Chaturvidam, four types. Krishna says, I am the fire. I keep the balance of the outgoing, incoming air, and I am the one who digests. Like this, Krishna says, I am the one who's maintaining every living entity. I am the fire of digestion. I join with the life, air of life, outgoing, coming, to digest the four kinds of food stuffs, purports. Mother Sangeeta, you want to read?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Yes.
According to Ayurvedic Shastra, we understand that there is a fire in the stomach which digests all food sent there. When the fire is not in blazing, there is no hunger. And when the fire is in order, we become hungry. Sometimes when the fire is not going nicely, treatment is required. In any case, this fire is representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vedic mantras, Brad Aranyakya, Upanishad 5.9.1 also confirm that the Supreme Lord of Brahman is situated in the form of fire within the stomach and is digesting all kinds of foodstuff. I am Agnir Vaishnava Naro Yo Yam Antaha Parsiu Yenadam Ananam Pachayate. Therefore, since he is helping the digestion of all kinds of foodstuff, the living entity is not independent in the eating process. Unless the Supreme Lord helps him in digesting, there is no possibility of eating. He thus produces the digest foodstuff, and by his grace, we are enjoying life. In the
Hare
Vedanta
Krishna.
Sutra,
So that's the same point which goes on how Krishna is maintaining. Let's go to the next purport, next verse. Now the gross body, how Krishna is maintaining, we got it. How Krishna is maintaining, protecting the subtle body and the soul is a discussion of the 15th verse. Sarvasya chaham vidhi sannivishto mata smriti jnanam apohanam cha. So the subtle body is made up of mind, intelligence, false ego. Krishna says, Mataha, from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. How many of you have experienced that you have perfectly memorized mugged up, and as soon as the paper comes in front of you, and when you were reading the question paper, you knew the answer. The moment you picked up the pen and suddenly you forgot. Hey, what was it? Suddenly the definition disappeared from your mind. How many of you had that experience? Raise your hand. So that's the time chant Hare Krishna. My dear Lord, please, please, please help me remember. So, the jokes apart, the point is, now see forgetfulness. Who's controlling that? You had remembered it, you had memorized it. The moment you picked up the pen, suddenly you forgot. So you cannot say that you have the potential to recollect. If you had the potential and the power, control to recollect, then now you recollect. How many of you have had that experience? Then you try, you scratch your head, it doesn't come, and what you do? Okay, let me go ahead and come back on this question afterwards. In the end, I would try. You write rest of the whole paper, and now you have 10 minutes, you're sitting on the last question, and you're still thinking, what was the answer? I knew, and you fail to recollect. Yes? So who gives you remembrance? Who gives you forgetfulness? So that's how Krishna is maintaining the subtle body also. So therefore, Prabhupada says devotees are the most intelligent. Why? Because they have taken shelter of the right person. Rather than scratching your head, you can chant Hare Krishna, my dear Lord, please this time help me. It's about my passing in the exam. So you know whom to approach for remembrance. Anyway, jokes apart, let's continue. So that was the point here. And then Krishna says, Vedai cha sarve rahame vedyu vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham. Krishna says, I am the one, Vedaisha server, who gave the Vedic knowledge. Aham eva vedyo, Vedanta krit, Vedavid, and the purpose of Vedanta, of Vedic knowledge is eva chaham, to know me. That's the point here. I am seated in everyone's heart. From me comes remembrance, knowledge, forgiveness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta and I am the knower of the Vedas. Ooh, this is a big puppet. All right. It's already 7:10. So with that, we'll probably pause here. We'll continue on the puppet of this verse from tomorrow. All right. So thank you all for your kind attention. So what we have discussed today, today we read verses particularly, of course we read some verses from 9th onward, but 12th to 15th is a section of this chapter which talks about how Krishna maintains the living entities. That would help us develop our gratitude for the Lord. And before we conclude, why don't we just recite these verses, very beautiful verses, 12 to 15 verses, and then we'll conclude. यदादित्यागतं तेजो जगत् भास्यते अखिलं यच्चन्द्रमासि यच्चाग्नौ तत्तेजो विधि मामकम्. My energy. How the plants are floating around? Gamavishya cha bhutani dharyami ahamojasa ushnami chaushadhi sarva soma bhutva rasatmakaha. And how we are able to digest? Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Pranina Dehamashita Pranapana Samayukta Sachami Anachaturvidam. How do I remember? How do I gain knowledge? Sarva Sachaham Hidisannivishtu. Krishna says, I'm reciting the heart of every living entity. Mata Smrtignanam Apohanam Cha Vedaicha Sarve Rahameva Vedyo Vedanta Krit Vedavid Eva Chaham. Hare Krishna. So with that, we conclude for today. Thank you all for joining. We'll continue our discussion from 15th verse of this chapter.